Welcome to Blast from the Past, a series of virtual presentations from the Fulton County Historical Society, located in Gloversville, New York. To learn more about the FCHS, please visit our website at fultoncountyhistoricalsociety.org. Today's presentation is part of the Hometown Heroes series and features Amos King, an African-American Civil War veteran from Caroga. Amos King was born in Dutchess County in 1818, a time when there were still enslaved people in New York State. The process of abolition began in 1799, when the state legislature passed a Gradual Emancipation Act. This act stipulated that children born to enslaved women after July 4, 1799, would be considered free. However, they were indentured until their early 20s. In 1817, a new law passed, decreeing the abolition of slavery in New York, but not until a decade later, in 1827. The 1820 census, the closest census record to King's birth, listed nearly 800 enslaved people in Dutchess County, or 31% of the county's black population. The same year, the area that would become Fulton County recorded 93 enslaved people, or 52% of the population of African Americans in the county. Evidence seems to support that Amos King was not part of the enslaved population in Dutchess County. Amos King moved to Fulton County in the early 1850s. Amos, his wife Maria, and their 12-year-old son Joseph first appear on the 1860 census in Caroga Lake. Two other black families from Dutchess County, also farmers, settled in the area of North Bush around the same time. When the country became embroiled in the Civil War, King enlisted in the 54th Massachusetts Regiment on April 18, 1863. 4 other African-American men from Caroga Lake also enlisted. Only 2, including King, would return home. The 54th Massachusetts was an African-American regiment authorized by the Emancipation Proclamation and commanded by white officers. The regiment was at several important battles, including the Second Battle of Fort Wagner and the Battle of Olustee. The story of the 54th and their action at Fort Wagner were fictionalized in the 1989 film Glory, starring Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, and Morgan Freeman. The Second Battle of Fort Wagner was fought on July 18, 1863, at Morris Island in South Carolina. It was ultimately a loss for the Union, recording the highest casualties for a regiment during a single engagement. However, the 54th Regiment, including Amos King, was widely acclaimed for their valor. Their service at Fort Wagner helped to encourage the further enlistment and mobilization of African American troops. Amos King was also at the Battle of Olustee in Baker County, Florida, on February 20, 1864. During retreat, the 54th were ordered to march back to 10 Mile Station, where a train carrying wounded Union soldiers had broken down and was in danger of being captured. The men of the 54th attached ropes to the train car and pulled it 3 miles to Camp Finnegan. There, they secured horses to assist in their efforts and pulled the car on to Jacksonville, another 10 miles away. It took them 42 hours. King was discharged by reason of physical disability at Charleston, South Carolina on June 16, 1865. At age 47, he was one of the oldest of the enlisted men. His superior officer noted in his discharge papers that at Olustee he conducted himself with great bravery. King returned to his farm in North Bush, where he lived the rest of his life. The Daily Leader published an article on May 26, 1900, about Reverend Charles A. Smith from Auburn, who visited the AME Zion Church in Gloversville, where he gave a talk about the 54th, called A Brave Black Regiment. Smith had also served with them. The reporter writes, "In the audience sat an old man, 80 years of age. It was noticed that he leaned forward to catch every word of the speaker, And after the lecture, he grasped the speaker by the hand and said he could witness all that was said, for he had participated in the battle. It was Amos King of Johnstown. They had not met since they parted after the war. 2 of the members of his regiment were present, whom he had not met since they were discharged more than 35 years ago. Amos King died in 1909. He was 91 years old. King was buried in the North Bush Cemetery in Caroga in an unmarked grave. This section of the cemetery included burials of other Black Caroga residents. There were no headstones, and for many early burials, there were no records. In 1996, a marble marker was purchased and a ceremony was held honoring the Black men and women buried in this section. It reads, "In memory to all the Black residents of this town buried in this section of the cemetery." Thanks for watching. The Fulton County Historical Society is located at 237 Kingsborough Avenue in Gloversville, New York. You can find out more about us on our website at fultoncountyhistoricalsociety.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/FultonCoMuseum.